Welcome back to Perkins Pipes. Got the Roman warrior helmet hat on today, and I've got the centurion helmet pipe that I made a couple years ago. Gnarled, tough looking, and we got that centurion's crest, the side-to-side crest on the helmet. And my friends, there is a reason for that. We're going to talk about one of the most famous scenes in movie history, and it connects with Roman history and other good stuff. As always, let's get this guy lit. Let's get to talking. I'm not quite sure why I put this in here, other than the fact that I hadn't smoked this in a long time. I just wanted to have the Sir Walter Raleigh in there again. Like I say, I hadn't had that in there for a long time. So, there you go. Sir Walter Raleigh. What is the movie I'm talking about? What is the scene I'm talking about? I'm talking about what was the Academy Award-winning Best Film for the year 2000. Depending on how you count things, maybe the start of the new millennium. I am talking, of course, about Gladiator. This is one of those movies that every time it comes on, I'm very much going to stop and watch it, at least part of it. Own it, own a couple different versions of it, had it on VHS, had it on DVD, then got the extended cut, or director's cut, or whatever they call it. One of these days I may do something about the second Gladiator movie that came out. It's okay. Nowhere near as good as the first one. The scene I want to talk about. A quick recap, and at this point it's been 25 years, so I'm guessing most people know the plot of the movie. But it is historical fiction in that it involves some real people, notably the Emperor Commodus and the Emperor Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius being one of what we call the five good emperors. Philosopher, wrote a book in Greek called Meditations. Really good stuff there. Then his son, Commodus, not such a good guy. As his father says at one point in the movie, he says Commodus is not a moral man. He must not rule. Even his own father knows this about him. Well, early on, Commodus murders his father. Now, where the fiction comes in is that there is a general, a fellow named Maximus Decimus Meridius, that is loyal to the Emperor Marcus Aurelius. Good general, good man, it seems, and quite frankly, the guy that the Emperor wishes he had had as his son. And Commodus seems to know this. He knows that his father prefers General Maximus to him. So after he murders his father, he offers Maximus one chance to prove his loyalty. Maximus rejects that, and the new emperor wants him killed. Wonderful scene about how Maximus gets away from this. Great action scene. And Maximus avoids being killed by one of the other soldiers, who actually was Maximus's friend. But he avoids that. Well, what he doesn't know is that the new young emperor has also sent assassins to Maximus's home to kill his wife and son. Maximus finds this out. He eventually gets home, sees this, heartbroken, devastated as anyone would be. He buries his wife and child. Next thing you know, he gets picked up by a roving band of slave traders, taken to sold into gladiator slavery. Ends up coming back to Rome, and fighting in the Colosseum. Now here's the young Emperor Commodus watching what's going on, sees this magnificent gladiator, wants to go down and meet him. Now Maximus, of course, knows who the emperor is, and he is waiting for the right time because he is going to make sure he kills this guy. He's going to get his vengeance. He's wearing a helmet, and it's one of these that kind of has some face protection around it, so you can't really see his face. The emperor and his nephew, a young boy who's about the age of Maximus's son, who had been killed, come down into the sand of the Colosseum. And the emperor talks to Maximus, and he says, why don't you tell us your name? And he says, my name is Gladiator. And the emperor's kind of suspicious, gets a little angry. He says, you will remove your helmet and tell me your name. At which point Maximus shows the utter sign of disrespect. He turns his back on the emperor. Now the young emperor is really incensed. And he says, Gladiator, you will turn around, remove your helmet, and tell us your name right now. And here comes the scene. Maximus turns around, and the way they film it and the way he does it, he takes off his helmet, and he's looking upward, kind of almost through his eyebrows at the emperor. And it's a steely-eyed glare. And he says, my name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the legions of the north, general of the Felix legions, servant to the true emperor Marcus Aurelius, husband to a murdered wife, father to a murdered son, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next. Ooh, boy, is that a powerful scene. Now, why is it powerful? Why do we like that scene? And you can kind of see the wind's sort of kicking up here. Hopefully we don't get a storm, and hopefully we don't have too much wind to block the audio here. So apologize for that in advance. Well, in fact, it blew out. You know, we're supposed to kind of be wind protected here with the Zippo, but this is a pretty stiff wind. Why do we like that so much? I think the reason we like that so much is two reasons. Here is a person who knows who he is. He knows what is right. And he knows his purpose, at least in what's going to be the short amount of time he has left alive. I am Maximus Decimus Meridius. He knows his name. I think about the scene where Jesus has just been baptized in the Jordan, and there's a sound from heaven, the voice of God the Father, as the Holy Spirit descends in a form like a dove on Jesus, and you hear this sound saying, this voice saying, this is my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased. And right after that, Jesus goes into the desert, he fasts for 40 days, he's weak after that, and that's, of course, when Satan comes along and tempts him, and Satan comes along with, well, if you are the Son of God. What do you mean, if? What do you mean, if? God the Father just announced this, right, at Jesus' baptism a month and a half ago. This is my beloved Son in whom I'm well pleased. Jesus never questioned his identity. And here you got that in Maximus, just firm. My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius. And it's not just the name, right? So his identity is caught up, as for many people, especially many men, in their job, right? He says, I'm commander of the armies of the north, general of the Felix legions, all right? I've got a job, I've got a calling, I know what that is. And then he says, and this is a jab at the new young emperor that he knows has murdered his own father, the previous emperor. He says, loyal servant to the true emperor, Marcus Aurelius. Now, let's stay with that for a moment. Do you know what your calling is? Do you know what your job is? You say, well, yeah, I know what my job is. I get up and go to work every day. We're not talking about that. Now, your job may be in banking. Is that who you are? Are you a banker? There are many people who teach, but are they all teachers? Just because you write a memo, does that make you a writer? You see where I'm going with this? He knows to his core. His identity is wrapped up in what he does, and he says, I'm just not getting a paycheck right here to be a general, right? This is what I was called to do. I was called to lead men into combat. And he also knows who his true commander is, his commander. He says, I am a loyal servant to the true emperor, Marcus Aurelius. Do you know who your true commander is? I mean, seriously, you thought about that? Is it your boss? Is it your spouse? Is your true boss your hobbies? Is it a sport? Is it God? And then he says, I am the father to a murdered son and husband to a murdered wife. That matters more than anything else. This is my family. This is my blood. I think sometimes we don't have the deep family connections we used to, or maybe we don't talk about those. And I know a lot of people do, and a lot of you who watch this channel, you certainly do. Do you have people that you would say in that same sort of tone of voice, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife? I rarely use first-person pronouns when talking about the children that my wife and I have, the home that we have, anything. I tend to say we, us, our. I rarely talk about my or mine. Occasionally I do because I've kind of, peer pressured into it, I guess. I know a lot of people talk, oh, my son and my daughter, and I have said that on this channel. But truly, my default is to say our son, our daughter, our house. Just asking, what's your relationship with family like? And then he says, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next. Now, Jesus came along and says, look, all right, don't go in for that, right? Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, I will repay. So we're not in that age. Now, of course, when this was set around the 2nd century A.D., late 2nd century A.D. So, yes, you certainly had that vengeance culture, if you will. That's just kind of how things operated. And so, yes, say, okay, we don't do that today. We're going to let God handle it. Nonetheless, I'm not talking about vengeance per se. But that's his language. I'm talking about justice. He says, I'm going to make sure that my murdered wife and murdered son have justice. I heard a guy at a church conference years ago talking about, and I mentioned it on this channel, I think, one of the greatest theologians of the 20th century, Popeye the Sailor Man. Right before Popeye would down the spinach, sometimes through his pipe, and go fight Bluto, he'd get him pushed as far as he can go. He'd say, that's all I can stand. I can't stand no more. You know what? I better do that with a pipe. Because Popeye had a pipe. That's all I can stand. I can't stand no more. And this guy was speaking at a church conference. He said, what is it that you can't stand no more? Okay? What are the issues that you care so much about that you will see that justice is done? Is it poverty? Is it child abuse, domestic abuse? Is it people who don't have the Bible in their language and you want to join up with one of the translating groups around, like Wycliffe Bible translators or somebody like this, and you say, I'm going to make sure they got the Bible in their language? So many things. What is the thing that calls you to which you would say something like that? I will have my vengeance in this life or the next. Again, not vengeance per se, right? But the idea that you would fight for justice. So, one of my favorite scenes, one of my all-time favorite movies, talk to us. Do you know Gladiator? I'm guessing you probably do. Do you like it? Have you seen it a bunch of times? Talk to us about the movie. Talk to us about that particular scene. Is that a powerful scene for you? Do you like it? What do you think of it? Folks, as Malcolm Guite likes to say, I do these little things in order at last to do nothing. Or as I say in Latin, Parva ago ut tandem, nihil agam. Have a wonderful day.